Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to lecture 16. This is the first lecture in module 4. In the previous module, we discussed about training need assessment, why training need assessment is important, how do we identify performance deficiency, and also we discussed about various techniques and method in which we can do training need assessment. And also in the last lecture, we also discussed about competency model building, how do you identify competencies required for job role. So that it is essentially going to help you to identify, okay, what type of a knowledge, skill and abilities my employee is needing. Now, having identifying the training need, now we are going to learn about transfer of training. Here we have to understand, when we say training, essentially what does it do? Training essentially making my employees to learn maybe improve their knowledge, enhance their knowledge, or learn a new skill, or upgrade their existing skill, or also looking at improve their ability. So the training essentially involves a lot of component of learning, and to understand how do we translate the learning component into the actual practice, the transfer training is very important. So we need to understand the concept of learning, why learning, what is the significance of learning, and also some of the theories behind the concept of learning, so that we will be able to conduct a proper training, come up with a proper resource for the participants of the training program. So essentially in this module, we are going to look at it, the first two more lectures, we are going to essentially focus on understanding the concept of learning, theories behind the learning. Drawing from that, we are going to talk about a transfer of training. Okay, so what we are going to discuss today, we are going to discuss on the concept, types and importance of learning. As I said, yes, learning becomes a premise for transfer of training. Okay, so what is learning? When we say, the moment we wanted to understand the concept of learning, it is important that we have to have a better understanding or idea about what are we saying about the learning. So generally the scholars, they say that learning is much deeper than just memorizing or information recall. So when the moment we say learning, what we do, we quickly jump on to storing the information and recalling the information. So whereas the learning is beyond, the learning involves understanding the concept, whatever we are learning, and relating the ideas. So what we have been learning, are we able to relate with what we are learning? Probably about some theory or maybe some technique or a tool. How are you going to relate these ideas and make connections between the prior and a new knowledge? So we already have something, some basis already, everybody has built with some basic foundational knowledge on any concept or any workplace, any of the tool or a techniques or a software, whatever you talk about, you already have some basis on it or some foundations, or maybe you will be maybe at the beginner level, or maybe at the middle level, or maybe you haven't already have enough knowledge, but you are going to add to the existing knowledge. Now the learning also trying to make connection between the prior and a new knowledge, and linking the independent and critical thinking, and also it ability to transfer the knowledge to new and a different context. See, for example, I am learning a context. So let's say I have learned a coding. Now I learned a coding. Now how do I apply the I learned the coding to a different context? Maybe for example bio research, or probably use the coding for other domains where I can essentially use it. The learning also talks you to tell you that yes, are you in a position to apply the knowledge you learned in a different context and a new environment. For example, you are already in one environment, here you are already there, now you learn something, can you apply the learning in a absolutely a new environment? So that's where the learning is talking about. That's where learning is not just simply a memorization or storing of information or recalling of the information, which is beyond. Okay, so this gives you a fair idea about what are we talking about the learning, because the training essentially is going to make my employees learn. If you look at the most organizations, earlier they used to have training and development. Still many organizations has a division called training and development. Now if you look at organizations are making it as a learning and development, because they say learning is much deeper as well. Okay, So now let us also understand the definition of the learning. Learning is not something done or provided to the students or learners, but rather it is something students and learners themselves do, which essentially, as I was said, are you able to take the inputs, are you able to relate, are you able to use it in a new different context or environment, because it is a direct result of how students and learners interpret and respond to their experience. This is how the learning we are defining. So the Ambrose and their colleagues, they define learning is a process that essentially leads to a change which occur as a result of an experience and increases the potential for improved performance and future learning. So we are always looking at learning aims at making change, and it tries to improve your existing performance and also for a future learning. Are you ready for future learning? And you have to, whenever we say learning, let's say we are in this stage, the learning has to take you to the next level. So first level to the second level. So the learning aims to make an improved performance from the current position, whatever the knowledge or a skill you have. Okay. Now, so what are the different types of learning available? Well, we are trying to classify in a very broad perspective. Visual learning, which essentially happens through watching and paying attention to the visual cues or maybe video, audio, visual. We will look at it, what is that visual learning is all about. Then auditory learning, which is essentially happens, this learning happens by listening and speaking. Okay. Then haptic learning, which is through a feeling by touching, meaning that you are going to experience it probably through simulations or hands-on practices. That's what we are trying to talk about. Haptic learning, which are essentially through touching and feeling. We are talking about experiencing the similar situations or instances. Through that you are going to learn, and you will be able to replicate or repeat those learning in your workplace on a new context you are going to get exposed to. Then the linguistic learning, which essentially happens through reading and writing. We know people used to read books or manuals to how to operate a machinery, how to run a code. There are textbooks which are available, which are going to help people to learn a new concept, learn new things, which is again another type of a learning. So these are the broad way of classifying the type of learning occur in any context. It can be a training or it can be an individual perspective also. The learning essentially happens in this four possible types of learning are mostly seen in any context. Okay, now let us see what is this visual learning. As I said, visual learning is where the learners observe things. Okay, they connect either with an images or objects or pictures or audio visual aids where we see videos being played. This helps them to retain things better, and they might also easily connect with things, and this will be very appealing and attracting to them to see. Maybe for example, some of us, we even experience, maybe if you have attended trainings or even the students who go through the classes, the one-way lecture, maybe very monologue, and you've been really not so excited about that learning concept. When you have a visual component of it, that actually creates more interest, and you will pay more attention, and you will be able to connect with those happenings, which through the video or audio, video visual aids or objects and pictures and images. So what the trainer generally does, they use animations, demonstrations, likewise to ensure effective learning for the learners. That is very important. Why do they use this video as a medium to train individuals or employees? Is that yes, it is going to have a different involvement or more engagement from the trainees, where they participate, they involve, then they try to learn the concept and relate to the concept. Okay. Now auditory learning, which are most occurring event where the learners do not just get bored of it, but many people love to listen to lectures, they participate in discussions, they debate, they discuss, ask questions, they engage in brainstorming sessions, they will have a lot of doubts. That through this auditory learning, wherein there is an opportunity for them to listen to the lectures, attend lectures from the people who are expert in the field, a particular field where they wanted to learn a new concept or a tool or a knowledge, and they will also engage actively in discussions and debates and clarify their doubts, because it is hard to get this type of learners to stop talking. That's why, because when you talk about the discussion phase where people used to ask questions in the classrooms. Through this question and answer clarifications, they get more clarity about whatever they wanted to learn. Essentially, if you look at many organizations which conduct training programs through either by an expert or by the internal resources of an organizations, where you see that there are lecture based training. The lecture based training essentially helps people to interact with the expert and ask their questions or doubts whatever they have on the particular concept or the particular tool which they wanted to learn, which gives them more avenues for clarifying their doubts, and this is going to help them to increase their knowledge, skills and abilities. Okay, then the next one is haptic learning, which I was already saying, which occurs essentially by touching and feeling, which we are referring to is the learners learn through experiencing or doing things, which how we are saying the training happens essentially where the trainees are put in a similar incidences or the situations or a workplace context or through a simulations where you will be able to experience it by participating in those kind of a training program. For example, hands-on training, some of you would have even attended, all of us would have had some exposure to the hands-on training. For example, somebody want to be trained on tool, or somebody want to be trained on software testing, somebody want to be trained on how to operate a machinery. So in this, if I can just keep it as a video, or if I just keep it as an auditory, what will happen? The confidence level of the learners will be relatively lower, or the possibility of making errors or becoming a expert in performing the particular task of either writing a code or software testing or even operating a machinery will be much lower than compared to giving them an opportunity to experience it, right? So this will provide them more opportunity to get acquainted with what are they going to be exposed to, right? So this is a way where the learning will happen. So many organizations now use on the job training and then also simulation based trainings, where it is ideally giving a scenario like how you will be exposed to situations in your workplaces. Okay, then the next learning, which is about linguistic learning, where it essentially happens by reading and writing, where the learners prefer to learn through reading textbooks. Well, there is some overlap with the visual learning. People might also used to have the combination of this linguistic as well as the visual, where you have a textbook and then also some video available for you to go see, and they always read through research articles, books, or workplace diaries, and through this the learners used to learn things. If you look at there are many manuals which are available. For example, people who are already working in a company or students who are going to join a company, we always see there are workplace handbooks are available. So handbooks provides the necessary information, maybe with respect to specific machinery, maybe with respect to a specific set of jobs. How do you run this? How do you do this? Beyond this, if you look at people also read research articles or the other manuals which are available to learn about how to do this job, how to perform well. The blogs are available, people used to read and they also learn. So these are the broad types of learning which essentially happens in any sphere, either it is a workplace or in at an individual interested learning things. Okay, now why learning is important? Learning is always a continuous process. It encourages you to enhance your competency, knowledge and skills to develop future opportunities. Because why do we learn? Learning is because we never reach a state that you don't need to learn, right? So things are developing, things are changing, or otherwise you need to equip yourself. So learning is a continuous process so that you will be able to keep improving your knowledge and competencies. So the learning is important because it generates, if you look at this also meets some of their basic needs of a life. For example, it helps you to generate income and status. People who are learning, continues to learn, you will have a better opportunities, better positions, which eventually will be translated in a way of remunerations. You will have a better paychecks at your hand, and also a status as your learning increases, your knowledge level increases, you will have a reputation in the society or a reputation in a particular industry or a company, even among the team you work with. We always see that even a set of group of students or a group of employees, we always find somebody who's knowledgeable, more knowledgeable, have a higher status. People always look up to those people to have any suggestions. If they going through any problem, they always look up to those people who have better information or knowledge on those. They have an higher status. So learning is definitely going to help in terms of income and also build status. Then it will also get access to a new opportunity. Yes, when you learn, you are getting a new opportunity. You will be learning a new skill or a new tool, and it gives you, opens up a plethora of opportunity that yes, you can expose yourself to a new sphere wherein you never been earlier. Okay, it also develops self-confidence. We will see in detail. And it helps to achieve goals. Yes, learning also helps how, in case you are having any deficiency, maybe attributed towards your lack of skill or a lack of knowledge on performing the particular job. By way of learning, through learning, you will be able to improve your current position, and you will be able to achieve your goals in a much better way than what you were. And it it also helps make people happy, because as you learn, you improve, and you will also feel contented about what you are learning. And it also helps for a professional development. Yes, of course, it are directed towards the professional development. It gives you more opportunity to become a leader, manager in an organizations, and it also promotes leadership quality of the individuals. As the learning grows up, and there is more opportunity for you to build these leadership quality. Okay, so now let us understand why we talk about learning helps to generate income and status. As I was rightly said, learners are motivated because it is a way to grow individuals' income and also status, and eventually it is going to help the improve the standard of life. How? As I was already saying, yes, the learning will help you to have a better positions, maybe in your same organizations. As you're learning, and you will have a promotion, more opportunities, better positions, better incentives, better growth you will have, better career projections you have. Maybe people who are already working in organizations, they always find that yes, when I am already working, if I can upgrade with a new skill or a professional degree, you always find that there are recognition in terms of promotion and incentives. This also helps you to acquire knowledge and skills that can enhance their potential in a job, and eventually it will also improve the social status. As I said, people with more information, more knowledge are referred to as have a higher status in a social group. So when I refer to social group, let's say there are a group of employees in a team. Okay, so what will happen? People who are having a better learning, who have better information, better knowledge, are always have a higher status. They will have a higher status in terms of they will be able to instruct the team what to be done. They will make decisions. Okay, they're always being looked after by the team members. So they have a higher status if you have a better learning in your current place or your workplaces, wherever you are. And when you talk about learning, it also gives you access to new opportunities. However, because the learning gives an individual a chance to take part in a new experience, that will definitely give you new opportunities. For example, when we talk about the business strategy, right? Business strategy, as an organization might have a goal of coming with a new product or a new technology as such. So when they talk about a new product or a new technology where they need an employee with a new set of skills. So if you happen to be a person who are ventured out to learn the tool or the technique or a software coding techniques which are helping a company to come up with a new product or a technology, then it is actually giving you a new opportunity. Yes, so learning becomes a fundamental skills that helps to strengthen individuals' well-being in their life, and also it gives you more opportunities to explore in your workplaces. Okay, it also develops a self-confidence, because learning, it helps in building self-confidence. When individual has a desire to learn, they make progress, and this leads to further connections. Your connections in the network will be more, and you will have a better opportunities as well. So the learning can meet his emotional, mental needs through knowledge he or she has gained through learning. and it is the point that it builds a self-confidence among the individual, because you will have a better know-how about the situations, and you will gain maximum benefit from the learning. And the moment your learning goes high, and you will have a better confidence in terms of taking decisions, in terms of handling situations. So it adds to the improving the self-confidence of the individuals. Okay, so it also helps to achieve goals, right? Yes, as I was earlier saying, maybe you will be lacking knowledge or skills which are required part of your job role. Through training you will be able to, or through learning you will be able to acquire those skills and knowledge which are essential to be a best performer in the particular job role, which will help you to achieve a goal. Otherwise, if you do not have an inclination to learn, what will happen? You cannot retain, or you cannot sustain in the same job role that you are actually doing. So through this you will be able to improve and gain skill. Of course, it will help in reaching the specific goals in an organizational setup. Okay, then it also helps for a professional development, because learning provides pathway that can help person to be at what he or she is doing, and then it can lead to a professional development. It also rewards through personal satisfaction, and it gives a broader experience to and gain transferable skills, and it lead you to faster promotions, provide job satisfactions, and essentially it will lead to professional development. Why we are talking about a professional development? Because when we talk about a learning in an organizations or a management always expects their employees to continue to learn, or at least they have a drive to learn continuously, because as and when employee upgrade themselves with the new skills or a new knowledge or a specific task or a tool, handling tools or any other technology, it always adds more value to those employees. So in an organizational setup, so you will have a better professional development if you have an inclination for learning, which will of course have a two-sided. One is about professional growth. Yes, it is going to have a professional growth learning, and on the other side you also see that personally you will be contented. Okay, so contented we are referring to the, yes, you will feel satisfied, yes, you are continuing to learn, which is going to definitely help you to meet your professional needs or the demands as well. Okay, so it also promotes leadership quality, because learning keeps an individual motivated, and it enhances their confidence, it improves their self-reliance, and this way they will be improving their communication skills. And through this, because when you talk about a leadership quality demands somebody shows more inclination to learn something new, which also demands a lot of interpersonal skills. When we say leadership, the leadership is always related to leader and followers, or otherwise we call it members. Leader and members are followers. So when this relationship is there, so leader has to be driving the people, has to have better information, better knowledge, so that the followers will have more faith and confidence on them. Of course, through a learning they will have a better interpersonal skills, they will be able to manage the employees or their teams or subordinates, and they will be able to drive them in better way. Okay, yeah. Then let us also understand what are the learning outcomes. When we are talking about different why learning is important, importance of learning and types of learning, the very basic premise is to understand why are we concerned about the learning, because we have to understand the learning outcomes. So understanding learning outcome is important, because they are going to influence the characteristics of the training environment, because it will tell me what type of a training environment which I should have, so that I can increase or I can create that learning to occur in the individuals which we are aiming to, maybe specifically to set of employees, or maybe a group of employees, or a specific set of employees also. So let us look at some of the examples and descriptions. Let's say type of learning outcomes. Let's say verbal information. For a verbal information, what is that we are talking about, which refers to either somebody is able to state or tell or describe the previously stored information. It is very simple. Let's say you have to keep the information stored, and you will be able to recall the information which are stored in your memory. For example, can be if somebody asks you, can you state 3 reasons for following company safety procedures? So during the training, one has to recollect why safety procedure, following safety procedure is important. One may be being compliant with organizational procedure and it does not result in workplace accidents. These are some of the ways. So where this type of a training where has to focus more on making my learners able to store the informations, and you can use multiple methods of creating the learning so that the information which you are giving them, it is being stored, and when somebody asks them to repeat or recall, they're in a position to recall it. Okay, then comes an intellectual skills. Now about learning outcome is on an intellectual skill. So let's say a description is that, okay, apply the generalizable concept and rules to solve problems and generate novel products. Okay, the example can be, can you design and code a computer program that meets customer requirements? So this is a situation wherein what type of a training you need to provide, because it should be directed towards intellectual skills where a person is able to apply the concept and rules into a different or a new products. If you, for example, because it says design a computer program that meets the customer expectations. In a training program, you would have been given an exposure to how to code or computer program, so that you will be able to address different needs which are arising out in course of a business transaction between a customer and an organizations. Now this kind of a training should focus more on enabling an individual to understand, okay, so how this code can be used, how do I program meeting a different needs of the customers. If that training has been provided in such a way that no, this is possible, so through this application of the idea to a different concept, then they will be able to address this situations in an organizational setup. Now comes the motor skills. So the motor skill which are essentially about executive physical action with a precision and timing. So motor skills were about, for example, which are mostly related with manufacturing or shop floor or an assembly line, where it is more of hand-eye coordinations and how do you operate a machinery, right? So now, for example, can you shoot a gun and consistently hit a small moving target? Can you do it? So this where what type of a training you should provide? You should focus on more on hand-eye coordinations. How do they operate? Motor skill to be focused on. Okay. Now other things, if for example the learning outcome, what we are referring is an attitude. Can you choose a personal course of actions? Choosing to respond all incoming mails within 24 hours. This is an example. So it is kind of building the attitudes of an employees. So okay, for any emails comes within 24 hours, you have to respond to those emails for those in an organization setup. Similarly, if you look at cognitive strategies, if the learning outcome is focusing on cognitive strategies, the description of capability, when I refer to cognitive strategies, manage one's own thinking and learning processes, where an employee or a participant getting a capability to manage one's own thinking and learning processes. So example can be, can you use 3 different strategies selectively to diagnose engine malfunctioning? Can you be able to come up with a strategy to diagnose what are the possible reasons where the engine have become malfunction? So this actually focusing on thinking and learning process. Can you come up and identify, okay, what are the ways in which you can identify the problems in a machinery? So this is how, based on the learning outcome, you need to look at what type of a training program am I aiming at, because we are aiming at to focusing on training to be designed based on the learning outcome as well, what my learning essentially aimed at. Okay. So today we focused on understanding the concept of learning, why learning is important, and also we looked at different types of learning. How do we learn, either through visual or auditory or through reading or listening, all that we have learned. And then also we spent time on understanding the importance of learning, why learning is important. As I said, learning becomes a premise for you to transfer of training, where we are trying to understand how an individual who go through the training make the learning in a better way, and they will able to translate that learning, whatever they learned through the training program, on their work or in a new environment, which is very, very important. For that, one has to have an understanding about the concept of learning and then various theories on learning. In the upcoming lectures, we will be learning about different theories on learning. Thank you.